Welcome to the deep dive. We have an absolutely incredible stack of sources today that plunges us immediately into this high-stakes, really intellectual sprint for a world-changing secret.
That's right.
It all kicks off in the dead of night, triggered by, well, a pretty shocking murder inside the Louvre Museum in Paris.
Yeah, and our mission, oh, it was complex. We're talking pure decryption, some serious historical excavation here. We are here to untangle this deliberate, meticulously constructed web of clues left behind by the victim. It's a dizzying mix. You've got art history, ancient religious symbology, these cryptic codes, and, of course, the machinations of clandestine organizations. We're basically analyzing the final agonizing moments of the Louvre curator, Jacques Saunière, to figure out exactly what happened to him.
And what he was trying to protect.
And what massive millennial-old secret he was so desperately trying to protect in those last minutes.
It really does feel like a race against time. We'll be tracking this, well, unlikely pair at the center of it all.
Right.
Robert Langdon, the Harvard symbologist, this academic, and Sophie Neveu, the sharp cryptographer from the police.
But we also have to track the antagonist, the ruthless forces of Opus Dei.
Yeah, spearheaded by Bishop Aringarosa.
And his executioner, this really unnerving albino monk, known only as Silas.
So grab your code-breaking gear, maybe a UV light. This dive is going deep.
Okay, so our analysis really has to start with the crime itself. In the Grand Gallery at the Louvre.
Right.
Jacques Saunière. Now, the sources make it clear he wasn't just any curator.
No.
He was the Grand Master of the Priory of Sion, an ancient secret society.
Right. Okay.
And his death, the sources describe it as painfully drawn out. He was shot point blank in the stomach by this monk, Silas.
Oh.
But crucially, the sources emphasize the bullet missed his vital organs. Deliberately.
Deliberately? Why?
To ensure he'd live for, well, roughly 15 minutes. Long enough for his own stomach acids to start poisoning him internally. It was designed really to maximize suffering.
That's brutal.
And compliance. Silas needed information.
But even in those final excruciating moments, the sources highlight this incredible discipline Saunière had.
Absolutely.
He and his 3 senators, these were his top deputies, right?
That's right. All murdered that same night.
They all stuck to this strict, ancient protocol. They gave the exact same lie to Silas.
The exact same lie. And Silas, hearing this identical story from all 4 victims, well, he was convinced. He thought he had the absolute truth.
He thought the secret was finally revealed.
Yep, he walked away believing he'd succeeded.
It just speaks volumes, doesn't it, about the level of secrecy, the protection built into this organization over centuries.
It really does. The lie was their first line of defense. It was meant to send any pursuer, even someone as committed as Silas, down a completely wrong path.
Buying time.
Exactly. Buying time for the real truth to be found by the right person.
Okay, so let's pivot to the academic who gets pulled into this mess.
Yeah.
Robert Langdon. He's introduced as the professor of religious symbology at Harvard. At the time of the murder, he just happens to be in Paris.
Right. Giving a lecture, wasn't he?
Yeah, on pagan symbolism embedded in the architecture of Chartres Cathedral, of all things.
Perfect timing. Or terrible timing, depending how you look at it.
Well, yeah, and the sources make a point of noting his history. He's become this sort of reluctant celebrity.
Ah, yes. After that incident in the Vatican. Highly unusual, widely publicized. He's not exactly unknown.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And his academic work already puts him kind of in direct opposition to certain established religious views.
For sure. We learn he's working on this potentially explosive manuscript. The title alone tells you a lot. Symbols of the Lost Sacred Feminine.
Right. So he's already deep into these themes of suppression, lost history, the very things that seem to be at the heart of Saunière's murder.
Exactly. It's like he was pre-selected for this in a way.
So he gets summoned to the Louvre, specifically to the main entrance, IMP's huge glass pyramid.
Controversial then. Controversial now, maybe.
Definitely then. We have sources detailing the reactions. Some critics absolutely loathed it, called it fingernails on a chalkboard.
Ouch!
They felt it just destroyed the dignity of the old Renaissance courtyard.
But others loved it, didn't they? The sources quote admirers, too. They saw it as a dazzling synergy of ancient structure and modern methods.
It's a perfect metaphor, isn't it? This collision of ancient secrets and, super modern investigation techniques.
Absolutely. The old world meeting the new, right there in glass and steel.
And speaking of the modern investigation, Langdon's first encounter is with the police captain, Bezu Fache.
Nicknamed Le Taureau, the Bull. That tells you something about his style.
It does. And Fedros doesn't exactly play by the book. The moment Langdon arrives, he's placed under surveillance cachet.
Which sounds technical, but what does it really mean?
It's basically an unwitting suspect interview. Foch is pretending to need Langdon's expertise as a symbologist, but he's actually feeding him specific bits of information, watching his reactions, trying to subtly build a case against him.
So Langdon thinks he's helping, but he's actually the prime suspect.
Exactly. What Langdon doesn't know is Foch already considers him the killer.
Wow. And how did Foch even latch on to Langdon so quickly?
Well, this is where the tech comes in. The sources reveal this meticulous trap. Earlier that evening, as Langdon left his hotel for his lecture,
Yeah.
a DCPJ agent slipped this tiny high-tech GPS tracking dot into the lining of his tweed coat pocket.
No way. Just planted it on him.
Yep, we're talking about a device accurate globally, within like 2 feet.
That's incredible technology for the time.
It really is. And the contrast is just stark, isn't it? This cutting-edge police operation using satellites to track a guy who studies symbols carved thousands of years ago.
Langdon, the expert on ancient secrets, is now basically an electronic fugitive, and he has absolutely no idea.
None at all. The
Yeah.
modern surveillance just ramps up the danger he's in immediately.
Okay, so let's get back to the scene itself. The message Saunier left, it's pure symbology, right? Speaking directly to Langdon's field.
Absolutely. The first clue was the body itself, found naked on the parquet floor of the gallery, and positioned deliberately to mimic Leonardo da Vinci's famous drawing, The Vitruvian Man.
Langdon spots that immediately, I assume.
Instantly, and he sees the message in it. The Vitruvian Man drawing symbolizes this perfect harmony between male and female principles.
Right, the man within the circle and the square.
Exactly. But Saunier positioned himself so that the surrounding circle, which usually represents that cosmic union, that feminine aspect, it was missing.
Ah, so the missing circle represents the missing feminine, a deliberate omission.
That's Langdon's interpretation. And then there's the symbol drawn on his abdomen in his own blood,
The pentacle.
the pentacle, a 5-pointed star. Now, most people might jump to, satanic connotations.
Right, that's the common pop culture idea.
But Langdon identifies it instantly, not as satanic, but as an ancient sign of the female deity, Venus, the sacred feminine.
And the sources link it to Venus's movement.
Yeah, apparently Venus traces a perfect pentagram in the night sky over an 8-year cycle. The 5 points also connect to the 5 stations of her cycle,
Fascinating. And the tarot connection.
directly to the tarot suit of pentacles, which is associated with feminine divinity, earth, prosperity. It's all layers of feminine symbolism.
Okay, so the body pose, the pentacle. What about the text?
Right. Beside the body, also in blood or marker.
Yeah.
First, these scrambled numbers. 13, 322, 21, 1185.
Just jumbled up number.
Looks like it. And second, this really alarming text. Oh, draconian devil. Oh, lame saint.
Okay, that sounds ominous. How does Foch read that?
Foch, the pragmatic cop, just sees la vengeance, revenge. He thinks Saunier is literally naming his killer. Maybe Langdon, maybe someone else with those kind of descriptors.
Makes sense from a police perspective, maybe.
Langdon, the symbologist, knows it's too layered for that. Too theatrical.
Right. Why reference Draco, the ancient Greek lawmaker known for his harshness, or a lame saint? It feels deliberate, coded.
Exactly. This whole tableau, the pose, the pentacle, the weird numbers, the dramatic phrase, it's not just a dying message. It's a profound communication meant for someone specific.
Someone who understands the language of the Priory of Seal.
Precisely.
Okay, so the narrative shifts pretty sharply here with the arrival of Agent Sophie Neveu.
Right. The cryptographer from the DCPJ, the French police.
She just walks straight into Foch's operation, unannounced. And unlike Foch, she sees the numbers 13, 32, 211185.
And recognizes them.
Instantly. She knows it's the Fibonacci sequence, just completely scrambled.
The famous mathematical sequence, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8.
That's the one. And even more critically, she reveals something Foch had deliberately hidden.
What's that?
Before the police photographer arrived, Foch found a fourth line to the message, written faintly in invisible ink or something similar near the body. He wiped it clean.
He erased evidence.
He did. But Sophie knows what it said because her grandfather, Saunier, had told her about these kinds of messages. It read, P.S. Find Robert Langdon.
P.S. Priory of Sion, or postscript. And find Robert Langdon. That changes everything.
Completely. It's Saunier's real message, intended for her, his granddaughter, pointing her towards Langdon for help.
Okay, wait. So if the numbers are the Fibonacci sequence, but they're scrambled,
Mm-hmm.
does that mean? The text is scrambled too, using the numbers as a key.
Bingo! That's the cryptographic leap. If the numbers 133222211185 are meaningless out of order, they must be the key to reordering something else.
The phrase, "O draconian devil, O lame saint."
Exactly. You first put the Fibonacci numbers back in their correct sequence, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21. That gives you the order.
And then you reorder the letters of the phrase using that sequence.
You got it. And when you apply that logic, oh draconian devil, oh lame saint, resolves into a perfect anagram.
Which is?
Leonardo da Vinci. The Mona Lisa.
Wow. That's genius. A brilliant piece of misdirection and encryption, using a famous sequence to hide a famous name.
It really is. But just as they figure this out, Sophie realizes the immediate danger Langdon is in.
Because of the message, Faish hid. Find Robert Langdon.
And because she figures out Faish must have planted that GPS tracker on him. She knows Faish thinks Langdon is the killer.
Right, so Langdon is walking around tagged and Faish is closing in.
Exactly. And the escape sequence described as pure adrenaline. Sophie knows they need a diversion fast.
What does she do?
She spots the tiny tracking disc. The source says it was just stuck crudely into his coat lining.
Okay.
And with incredible quick thinking, she digs it out, embeds it into a bar of soap from the men's restroom.
Soap? Why soap?
To confuse tracking dogs, maybe, but mainly to get it off Langdon. Then she grabs this heavy cylindrical trash can and uses it like a battering ram to shatter the huge window in the men's room. Bang.
Creates chaos.
Massive chaos, the sound of breaking glass, the confusion, maybe the soap scent throwing things off. But the key is the GPS signal is still active, pinging from that bar of soap near the broken window.
Leading Faish's team on a wild goose chase.
Precisely. Buys them just enough time to slip away into the depths of the Louvre.
And their destination is now clear. The Mona Lisa.
Yep. Back into the Grand Gallery.
And Langdon analyzes the painting. Not just as art, but as, a symbolic statement.
What does he see? Beyond the famous smile.
He points out something subtle. How Da Vinci painted the background landscape. On the left side, it's noticeably lower than on the right.
Lower on the left? How does that matter?
Well, it makes the figure of Mona Lisa herself seem subtly larger, more dominant when viewed from the left.
Okay.
And in classical symbology, the left side is traditionally associated with the female principle, the right side with the male.
Ah, I see. So Da Vinci is subtly emphasizing the feminine.
Langdon suggests it's more than that the whole portrait is a coded message of androgyny, a deliberate fusing of both male and female, a visual symbol of the union and the priory values so highly.
Hidden in plain sight in the world's most famous painting. Okay.
And then comes the next clue. Sophie has a small UV blacklight pen.
Of course she does. Cryptographer's toolkit.
Right. She shines it on the thick protective glass over the Mona Lisa, and 6 words glow into view, written in marker only visible under UV.
And they are.
So dark, the con of man.
Wow. Okay. That sounds significant.
It's huge. This phrase, according to the sources, is basically the ideological core of the whole secret Sanier died protecting.
The con of man. What's the con?
According to the priory's beliefs, this con refers to powerful men in the early Christian church.
Okay.
Men who, they claim, propagated deliberate lies. Lies that systematically devalued the female role in spirituality, obliterated the concept of the sacred feminine from mainstream religion.
Why? What was the motivation for this alleged con?
The sources frame it as a pure power grab, a political move to centralize control.
How so?
Well, if you accept the priory's premise, the original pre-Christian spiritual paths often incorporated both male and female principles as divine. Balance was key.
Right.
Goddess figures were common.
Exactly. But to create a monolithic, hierarchical, male-dominated power structure, like the early church arguably became, you needed to sideline the female half of the equation.
Get rid of the competition, essentially.
Pretty much.
Right.
Especially those aspects tied to creation, nature, sexuality things, often linked to female divinity. They needed to replace the goddess with a singular male god, the father.
And to do that effectively, they had to.
What?
Demonize the feminine.
That seems to be the argument. Demonize the vessel of creation woman, associate her with sin, temptation, weakness, banish women from positions of spiritual authority.
Making the male priest the sole intermediary to God.
Precisely. It cemented the hierarchy. This alleged propaganda campaign was incredibly effective, shaping Western culture for centuries. Recasting sacred union as sinful, replacing balance with patriarchy.
And this is the truth Sanier and the priory were guarding.
That's the core of it. Now let's turn to the forces actively trying to prevent this secret from ever emerging. Opus Dei.
Okay, and their agent, Silas.
Yes, the chilling albino monk. Described vividly in the sources. Ghost pale skin, thinning white hair, and these really unnerving pink irises with dark red
It's
pupils.
visually striking and unsettling.
Very. And his backstory is absolutely crucial to understanding his intense fervor, his motivation.
All that we know about him.
He had a really violent youth, grew up abused by his father, eventually snapped and murdered him.
Okay, so trauma and violence early on.
Deep trauma. He was imprisoned naturally, but then escaped during a massive earthquake that basically demolished the prison.
A literal act of God maybe in his mind.
Perhaps. He ends up wandering, destitute, and is found near death by a young priest in Oviedo, Spain. This priest nurses him back to health, gives him shelter, and significantly renames him.
Renames him Silas.
Yes, Silas. After the biblical figure in the Book of Acts, a prisoner who is miraculously freed from jail alongside Paul.
So this priest essentially frames his survival and rescue as a divine intervention, a rebirth.
Exactly. And for Silas, this salvation becomes everything. It instills in him this incredibly dangerous sense of divine purpose. He believes he was literally reborn to carry out God's will.
And God's will, in this context, is channeled through.
Bishop Manuel Arangurosa, the President General of Opus Dei, he's the one directing Silas.
Okay, so we need to understand Opus Dei itself. The sources define it as this massive, powerful, conservative Catholic lay organization.
Founded in 1928, dedicated to promoting rigorous Catholic doctrine and traditional values in everyday life, especially among professionals and intellectuals.
And the sources emphasize its scope, its power.
Oh, absolutely. They detail its enormous wealth, its global reach, its influence in political and financial circles worldwide. It's portrayed as a significant force.
But not without controversy. The sources highlight some serious issues surrounding its practices, right? This is important context for the antagonist.
Definitely. We need to be clear, we're reporting what the sources allege here. They bring up past scandals to paint this picture.
Such as?
The use of the psilus. This is a barbed chain worn strapped tightly around the upper thigh as a form of penance, corporal mortification.
Oh.
Yeah. Recommended usually for 2 hours a day. But the sources cite an incident where a member supposedly wore it much longer, gave himself a near-lethal infection. Things like that fuel criticism.
And there were other high-profile issues.
Yes, the sources mention the huge embarrassment when the high-level FBI agent Robert Hansen, who was a longtime prominent member of Opus Dei,
Spy.
the infamous spy, yeah. He was caught not only selling secrets, but also, bizarrely, rigging cameras in his own bedroom to film himself and his wife. His Opus Dei membership became a major point of media focus during his trial.
That must have been a PR nightmare.
Huge. It led to increased scrutiny and even the formation of watchdog groups like ODAN, the Opus Dei Awareness Network, by former members critical of the organization.
Okay, so this background is used in the sources to show that while Opus Dei promotes piety and tradition, its conservative practices, sometimes secretive nature, and self-punishing disciplines have drawn significant controversy and criticism.
Exactly. But for someone like Silas, none of that matters. Or maybe it reinforces his sense of being part of a persecuted, righteous group. His motivation is crystal clear. He believes he is doing God's work.
Committing murder is God's work.
In his mind, yes. He sees it as necessary acts of war against the enemies of God, the enemies of the church, like the Priory of Sion. He's trying to recover a truth he believes was stolen from the faithful, using any means necessary.
All right, let's track back to Langdon and Sophie. They've escaped the main gallery, following the Mona Lisa clue. Where does it lead them next?
It leads them to another Da Vinci masterpiece in the Louvre, the Madonna of the Rocks. Behind it, they find a hidden symbol which yields a key.
Not just any key, I assume.
Definitely not. It's a heavy, ornate gold key, and it bears a very specific seal, a fleur-de-lis emblem intertwined with the initials PS.
PS, Priory of Sion.
Exactly. And Sophie recognizes it instantly. It was a symbol her grandfather, Seigneur, used. His way of communicating directly with her, confirming they're on his intended path.
And this is where Langdon's specialized knowledge really kicks in, right? The Priory of Sion.
Oh, yeah. He goes into full lecture mode, almost. He explains the history. The Prieuré de Sion, he says, was founded way back in Jerusalem in 1099.
By Godefroy de Bouillon, one of the leaders of the First Crusade.
The very same. And the list Langdon provides of its supposed grandmasters over the centuries is just staggering. It reads like a who's who of Western intellectual and artistic history.
Like who?
People like Botticelli, Sir Isaac Newton, Victor Hugo.
Newton, wow.
Yeah. And most importantly for their current quest, Leonardo da Vinci himself. Grand Master, according to Priory lore, between 1510 and 1519.
So, this secret society has been intertwined with geniuses and power brokers for centuries. What was their mission?
Singular, according to Langdon, they are the guardians of the Sangreal documents.
The Sangreal documents. What are they supposed to contain?
The story goes, these documents were originally retrieved by the Knights Templar.
Okay, the Templars. Another layer of mystery.
Right. Retrieved from beneath the ruins of Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem after the First Crusade. These documents allegedly contained secrets so profound that they gave the Templars limitless power and wealth, making them arguably the most powerful force in Europe for a time.
Until they were crushed.
Exactly. Brutally crushed in the early 14th century by Pope Clement V and King Philippe V of France, who coveted their wealth and feared their influence. But the priory, supposedly, ensured the survival of the documents and the secret knowledge.
Okay, so what is the secret? What does Sangreal mean? This is the core of it, isn't it?
This is the absolute core revelation, the one that shatters centuries of tradition. Langdon explains that the term Sangreal is the key.
How so?
For centuries, popular legend and literature have interpreted it as Sangreal, meaning Holy Grail, usually depicted as the cup, the chalice, used by Christ at the Last Supper.
Right. The quest for the Holy Grail. King Arthur, Indiana Jones.
Exactly. But the priory documents, Langdon reveals, insist on a different etymology. Not Sangreal, but Sangreal.
Sangreal. Royal blood.
Precisely. Royal blood. The Holy Grail, Langdon argues based on this, is not a physical drinking vessel at all. The cup is just an allegory, a metaphor.
A metaphor for what?
For a woman's womb, the vessel of life, the container.
Whoa. Okay, so if the Grail is a womb, then the true Holy Grail is
Mary Magdalene.
Mary Magdalene, not the repentant prostitute of traditional portrayal.
Not according to the priory. In their version, she is the holy vessel, the woman who bore the royal bloodline of Jesus Christ.
She carried Jesus' child, that implies.
It implies marriage, and this is the most explosive claim in the entire source material, the marriage of Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
How is this presented? As theory, as belief?
The sources state that the priory treats this not as theological speculation, but as historical record.
Wait. Historical record is a massive claim. Do the sources, do they detail what record? Which documents supposedly certify this? Or is this fundamentally the priory's internal foundational belief system passed down?
It's presented as the priory's foundational belief based on their interpretation of the Sangreal documents they guard. Their argument, as Langdon relays it, hinges partly on context. Jesus was a Jew, living in a time and culture where marriage, especially for a rabbi or prominent teacher, was not just customary, but practically expected. Celibacy was the exception, not the rule.
So the absence of a wife in the Gospels is, in their view, suspicious.
Or perhaps deliberate editing later on. Furthermore, they argued Da Vinci himself encoded this truth in the Last Supper.
Oh, we all know that painting.
Langdon points out the critical omission. Despite being the Last Supper, there is no actual cup, no single central chalice on the table, plenty of wine glasses, but no grail.
Huh. I never noticed that.
Reinforcing the idea, he says that the grail is something else entirely. He then points to the figure seated to Jesus' right, traditionally identified as the young Apostle John.
Yeah, the beloved disciple, often depicted as quite feminine.
Langdon argues that figure is Mary Magdalene, and he highlights the distinct V shape formed by the space between Jesus and this figure, the V being the ancient symbol for the chalice, the female womb.
The blade and chalice. Okay. And there's an S shape, too.
He mentions an S shape implied by their leaning postures, possibly symbolizing union or even Sophia, wisdom. It's all visual code suggesting an intimate, perhaps marital, connection hidden in plain sight.
So for the priory, Mary Magdalene isn't just Jesus' wife. She's the vessel of the continuation of his lineage. She is the Holy Grail.
Exactly. They worship her as the goddess, the Holy Grail, the rose, and the Divine Mother.
The rose. That symbol keeps coming up. The box, the priory seal.
It's deeply layered symbology. The five-petaled rose is central. 5 petals linking directly back to the 5 points of the pentacle of Venus that Saunier drew.
Right. Sacred feminine.
It's also pointedly an anagram of Eros, the Greek god of love and desire. And the sources state the 5 petals also represented the 5 key stages of female life in ancient traditions: birth, menstruation, motherhood, menopause, and death.
Reasserting the female body and its cycles as sacred, not profane.
Precisely. It's all about restoring that balance.
And this bloodline, the Sangreal, it continued.
According to the priory documents, yes. They assert that Mary Magdalene, pregnant at the time of the crucifixion, fled Judea.
Fled where?
To France, what was then known as Gaul, escorted by Joseph of Arimathea, supposedly. There, in hiding among Jewish communities, she gave birth to a daughter.
A daughter named?
Sarah. Her life and the continuation of the lineage were chronicled by her Jewish protectors. This established her and her descendants as heirs to the Jewish royal line of Kings David and Solomon through Jesus.
So this bloodline survived in France?
Yes, eventually intermarrying with Frankish royal families to create the Merovingian dynasty.
The famous Merovingian kings of early France. They believed they had sacred blood.
Exactly. And though the Merovingians were eventually deposed, the bloodlines supposedly survived in secret, protected by the priory down through the centuries, under specific family names like Plantard and, significantly, Sinclair.
Sinclair. That name will become important later, I suspect.
Very. This direct physical lineage is what the priory exists to protect. The living descendants of Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
Okay. This finally brings us back to that strange ritual Sophie witnessed as a child at her grandfather Saunier's country estate.
Right. The source describes her stumbling upon this secret ceremony in the middle of the night. Masked figures, men and women dressed in black and white robes, chanting.
And engaging in some kind of ritualistic sex act. It terrified her.
Understandably, but Langdon explains what she likely witnessed. He identifies it as a modern version of an ancient rite called Hieros Gamos.
Hieros Gamos. Sacred marriage?
Sacred marriage. He's careful to distinguish it. It's presented not as simple eroticism or an orgy, but as a profound spiritual act.
Spiritual.
The sources delve into this ancient belief system. The idea was that physical union, specifically the union of male and female energies in a ritual context, particularly with the embodiment of the sacred feminine, was seen as the only pathway for the male participant to achieve gnosis. Direct experiential knowledge of the divine. Communion with God through union with the goddess.
So, sex as a form of prayer, a bridge to the divine.
That's the concept presented. Orgasm as prayer, as one source puts it bluntly. It's easy to see how incredibly threatening that idea would be to a burgeoning, centralized, celibate, male-dominated religious structure.
Absolutely. It bypasses the need for priests, for intermediaries entirely. If individuals can find God through physical union, through the feminine,
then the church's power structure becomes redundant. This is why, according to the priory's narrative, as Langdon explains it, this concept had to be violently suppressed, demonized.
Making sex sinful, associating the female body with temptation and evil.
Exactly. Recasting the source of life and divine connection as the source of original sin. It was, the sources argue, a necessary ideological move to consolidate power, control the populace, and erase the memory of the sacred feminine.
All right, so Langdon and Sophie, armed with this incredible knowledge and the gold priory key, where does the key lead them?
It leads them to a very specific, very discreet location, the Depository Bank of Zurich, a Swiss bank known for its anonymity, operating in Paris.
Okay. A numbered account, I presume.
Precisely. The gold key physically opens a high-security vault box, but they still need an account number or password to get authorization.
And the password is, don't tell me.
The crucial piece of information Saunier encrypted with his dying message, the Fibonacci sequence.
The scrambled numbers. 1332211185.
But unscrambled, punched into the keypad in their correct mathematical progression, 1 1 2 3 5 8 13 21.
A 10-digit code Saunier knew by heart. Simple, elegant, secure.
Beautifully secure. And it works. They gain access.
And inside the vault, what do they find?
The contents confirm the stakes are as high as they imagined. They retrieve this beautiful inlaid rosewood box.
Rosewood?
Yes, and the inlay is crucial. A perfect 5-petal rose, the symbol of the Grail and the priory. Confirmation.
And inside the box?
Inside is the object Silas and the teacher have been hunting all along. The priory's keystone.
The keystone. What form does it take?
It's a cryptex.
The cryptex, like a portable vault.
Exactly. A device supposedly designed by Da Vinci himself. It's described as a stone cylinder about the size of a small can with 5 rotating lettered dials around the middle, like a combination lock.
Okay, so you dial in the right 5-letter password to open it.
Correct. But here's the genius and the danger. We really need to emphasize this risk. Inside the stone cylinder is a scroll, likely papyrus, containing the next set of directions, the map to the Grail itself. But wrapped around that papyrus scroll is a fragile vial of liquid, vinegar.
Vinegar? Why vinegar?
Because papyrus dissolves almost instantly in vinegar. If someone tries to force the cryptex open, or dials the wrong combination too aggressively, the mechanism breaks the vial.
Destroying the secret map inside.
Ah!
Wow. The ultimate booby trap Information self-destructs if handled incorrectly.
It's brilliant security, protecting the priory's ultimate secret, the Keystone Map.
But the scan from the bank isn't simple, is it?
Not at all. Just as they retrieved the box, the bank manager, Andre Vernet, who seemed helpful at first,
Yeah.
turns out he was a friend of Saunier's, felt protective of the secret maybe, but also suspicious of Langdon and Sophie. He attempts to steal the keystone back from them at gunpoint.
Seriously. The bank manager.
Yep. Leading to this chaotic escape, Langdon and Sophie manage to overpower him, bundle him into the back of an armored truck that Vernet had prepared for their getaway, and then end up in this wild, high-speed chase through Paris.
So they have the cryptex, but they're fugitives again, now in a stolen armored truck.
Pretty much. Once they find a safe place to stop, they examine the rosewood box more closely.
And they find something else.
Underneath the rose inlay on the lid, Langdon discovers a hidden engraving. Text.
Another clue.
Yes. But it's written in Da Vinci's signature style. Mirror script. Backwards.
Of course it is.
Mm.
So Sophie, the code expert, copies it down, reversing it.
Exactly. And this yields the riddle they need to solve to find the 5-letter password for the cryptex itself.
What does the riddle say?
The first poem reads, "An ancient word of wisdom frees this scroll and helps us keep her scattered family whole. A headstone praised by Templars is the key, and at Bash will reveal the truth to thee."
Okay, a riddle full of clues. Ancient word of wisdom, scattered family, headstone praised by Templars.
At Bash.
Langdon focuses on the most concrete clue.
Yeah.
A headstone praised by Templars. What does that refer to?
The Templars were accused of heresy, right? Worshipping idols.
Precisely. During their trials, they were famously accused of worshipping a demonic idol head named Baphomet, often depicted as a horned, androgynous figure, possibly linked to ancient fertility gods.
Baphomet. Okay, that's the headstone, but how does that give them a word? The riddle gives the final instruction. And at Bash will reveal the truth to thee. At Bash.
At Bash, didn't you mention that earlier? Some kind of cipher.
Exactly. Langdon recognizes it immediately. The at Bash cipher is one of the oldest known substitution ciphers originating in Hebrew. It's very simple.
How does it work for listeners who haven't brushed up on ancient Hebrew ciphers lately?
It's a straight reversal. You map the first letter of the alphabet to the last, the second to last, and so on. So A becomes Z, B becomes Y, C becomes X.
Okay, a simple substitution based on reversing the alphabet.
Right. So you take the keyword derived from the riddle Baphomet.
Baphomet.
And you run each letter through the at Bash cipher. B becomes Y, A becomes Z, P becomes K. Wait, no, let me recheck that application in the source. Right. The source applies it slightly differently, or there's a common misconception in retelling. Let's stick to the source's outcome. Applying at Bash to Baphomet yields
Yes.
Sophia.
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 Sophia, the ancient Greek word for wisdom. An ancient word of wisdom frees the scroll. It fits perfectly.
It fits perfectly. It aligns with the Priory's mission to guard ancient wisdom, especially relating to the sacred feminine, which Sophia often represents. That's the 5-letter password.
Incredible. They can open the cryptex. But just as they solve this, the narrative takes another massive twist, doesn't it?
The biggest twist yet. We learn the true identity of the mastermind behind the entire night's violence, the mysterious teacher who hired Silas and directed the murders.
Who is it?
Sirleaf Teabing.
Teabing, the eccentric, wealthy British royal historian, the Grail expert they sought help from earlier.
The very same. He was playing them all along. He is the teacher.
How did he know what Saunier and the others were planning? How did he orchestrate it all?
The sources reveal Teabing wasn't just guessing or getting lucky. He had Saunier under sophisticated electronic surveillance for months, possibly years.
Surveillance? How?
Bugs. Tiny listening devices hidden inside a gift he'd given Saunier years before, an ornate robotic knight figurine, placed strategically in Saunier's study.
So he heard everything. Knew about the keystone, the plan, everything. A profound betrayal of trust, of friendship.
Absolutely devastating, using his manservant, Remy, to help manage the operation and communicate with Silas.
But why? What was Teabing's motivation? It wasn't money, was it? He was already incredibly wealthy.
No, not money. It was pure ideological zeal combined with profound frustration and maybe arrogance. Teabing desperately believed the truth about the Grail, about Mary Magdalene, and the bloodline needed to be revealed to the world now.
And he felt Saunier and the other priory leaders were failing.
Exactly. He saw them as cowardly, hoarding the truth, failing in their ancient mission to eventually release it. He decided he would be the one. the necessary catalyst to force the secret out, even if it meant orchestrating murder.
He wanted to expose the church's con.
Precisely. This revelation leads to a dramatic, high-stakes confrontation. Langdon figures it out, leading to a standoff. I believe the sources place it at Westminster Abbey in London.
Okay. And Teabing is eventually arrested.
Yes. Capitan Thrush reappears, revealing that he'd actually figured out Langdon was innocent much earlier.
Right.
Thrush had been tracking Bishop Aringarosa's suspicious financial movements, realizing he was trying to contact Teabing. The police weren't just after Langdon, they were closing in on the whole conspiracy from a different angle.
So Langdon is cleared, and Teabing is caught. What about the cryptex? Did they open it?
Yes. With Teabing apprehended, Langdon and Sophie used the password SOFIA. The cryptex opens safely.
And inside, the papyrus scroll.
Yes. But it doesn't contain a map. It contains another cryptex, smaller this time, and another riddle poem.
Another layer. Good grief, what does the second poem say?
This one points them towards London. In London lies a knight, a pope interred, his labor's fruit a holy wrath incurred. You seek the orb that ought be on his tomb. It speaks of rosy flesh and seeded womb.
Okay, a knight, a pope interred in London. Who could that be?
Langdon quickly deciphers this one. A knight, a pope interred points to Sir Isaac Newton.
Newton. He was a knight buried in Westminster Abbey. But a pope interred. He wasn't Catholic.
No, the pope here is clever wordplay. It refers to the famous English poet Alexander Pope, whose eulogy for Newton is inscribed on his tomb. Newton was instrumental in popularizing Pope's work.
Ah, okay. And Newton's labor's fruit, his scientific work, his theories on gravity and physics.
This certainly incurred holy wrath. His scientific, rational worldview based on observable truth directly challenged the church's authority and dogma at the time. And crucially, we already know Newton was supposedly a priory grandmaster.
It all fits, so they need to go to Newton's tomb in Westminster Abbey. What are they looking for? The orb that ought be on his tomb.
Exactly. Newton's tomb is elaborate, featuring a large globe, celestial spheres. But something is missing, the symbolic representation of his greatest discovery.
Gravity. The apple.
The apple, the orb that ought to be there, representing the falling apple that sparked his theory. That word, APLE, must be the 5-letter password for the second, smaller cryptex.
But the poem adds that layer. It speaks of rosy flesh and seeded womb, connecting the apple back to.
Back to the rose, back to Eve, the garden, original sin perhaps, but also to the feminine principle, fertility, the seeded womb. It reinforces the core theme right at the end.
So APLE is the final password. They open the last cryptex, and what's inside?
Yeah.
The final location?
Not quite directly. The trail takes one more turn. Following clues derived from the final cryptex message, combined with Sophie's own recovered memories about her family, leads them away from London.
Where to?
To Scotland. To the famous, mysterious Rosslyn Chapel near Edinburgh.
Rosslyn Chapel, steeped in Templar and Masonic legends, of course.
And it turns out Rosslyn is intricately linked to Sophie's family history. It's essentially her ancestral home. And waiting for them there, her grandmother. And her younger brother, whom Sophie had long believed died with her parents in a car crash. They are alive. They are the true hidden guardians. Sonier wasn't the only one.
Wow. So Sophie's family are the direct descendants, the keepers of the secret.
Yes. The St. Clairs, whose ancestors helped build Rosslyn Chapel, they reveal the final piece of the puzzle, the last interpretation needed. It comes from a family saying, a final poem, the Holy Grail 'neath ancient Rosslyn waits, the blade and chalice guarding o'er her gates.
The blade and chalice guarding o'er her gates. We've heard blade and chalice before. The V shape at the Last Supper.
Exactly. And Langdon finally puts it all together. The blade, the ancient symbol for the masculine, often represented as an upward-pointing triangle, or phallus. The chalice, the ancient symbol for the feminine, a downward-pointing triangle, V, or womb.
Guarding her gates. What happens when you combine those two symbols? Blade over chalice.
You get the 6-pointed star, the Star of David, Solomon's seal.
Not just a symbol of Judaism, but
An ancient symbol representing the perfect union of male and female, the ultimate integration of opposites, the divine marriage of Yahweh, male aspect of God, and Shekinah, female aspect. That intersection point is the location.
But where is that location? Is it literally inside Rosslyn Chapel?
Rosslyn is where the guardians, the living descendants like Sophie's family, are protected. But the sources suggest the ultimate physical resting place of Mary Magdalene's sarcophagus, the Grail itself, isn't there.
Where then, after all this?
The clues, reevaluated with this final understanding of the blade and chalice, point Langdon back Back to Paris, back to where it all began.
Back to the Louvre.
Back beneath the Louvre. Langdon has this final epiphany standing again near Iampe's pyramid. He finally understands the true symbolism Saunier intended him to see.
The glass pyramid entrance.
Not just the main one. He looks down into the underground complex and sees its counterpart. The inverted glass pyramid, La Pyramide Inversée, pointing downwards from the ceiling of the underground plaza.
The chalice.
Precisely. The giant V descending from above, and directly beneath its tip, suspended just inches above the floor, is a tiny stone pyramid, pointing upward.
The blade.
The blade. The chalice descends to meet the blade. The perfect union of male and female hidden in plain sight within this modern architectural marvel. That precise point of near intersection.
Is where the poem leads. Guarding o'er her gates.
Yes. Directly beneath that tiny stone pyramid buried deep under the floor of the Louvre is said to be a hidden chamber, the final resting place of Mary Magdalene, fulfilling the last line of the poem deciphered earlier. She rests at last beneath the starry skies, referring perhaps to the glass pyramid ceiling above.
Wow. So the entire journey wraps up with this profound architectural symbolic realization. Right back where they started, but seeing it with completely new eyes.
Exactly. And it's at this very spot, this intersection of modern architecture, ancient history, and deep symbology, that Langdon, the rational Harvard academic, the skeptic,
He finally understands.
he understands. And the sources describe him kneeling right there in the crowded Louvre Plaza in a moment of profound reverence. The quest isn't just about solving riddles. It concludes with a spiritual acknowledgement of the sacred feminine, hidden in plain sight all along. #tag outro. So if we kind of boil it all down, the core takeaway for you as listener from this deep dive, it shows us we weren't just, following a complex crime story.
No, much more than that.
We were really exposed to this radically different hidden counter-history. One that asserts the Holy Grail isn't an object at all, but a woman, Mary Magdalene.
Right.
And that all these symbols we see around us, the pentacle, the rose, even the Star of David, they're actually essential keys. Forgotten keys to understanding spiritual truths that, according to this narrative, powerful forces actively tried to erase and replace with dogma.
Exactly. And why should this complex, maybe even controversial narrative matter to you listening right now?
Yeah, what's the relevance?
Because it illustrates so clearly how history, how knowledge itself, can be actively shaped, obscured, even manipulated by those in power over centuries. It teaches us, I think, that the biggest secrets, the most world-changing truths, are often hidden right out in the open, encoded in the art, the architecture, the language that surrounds us every single day.
The truth isn't always buried deep. Sometimes it's just been deliberately misinterpreted or ignored.
Yeah. We just need the right key to see it.
Yeah. And that really leads us to the final provocative thought for you to maybe mull over, something rooted in Langdon's deep dive into Hera's Gamos.
The sacred marriage.
That ancient idea of achieving union with the divine through physicality, through sexual union with the sacred feminine. We spent some time today explaining how the church, according to the Priory's version of history, systematically demonized the female principle and sexual union itself.
To establish centralized power.
Right.
Turning orgasm as prayer into original sin.
Right. So the question to consider is, how deeply has that alleged demonization of the sacred feminine actually influenced our modern culture, our relationships, our institutions, our own spiritual lives, even subconsciously?
And are we, as the source materials seem to suggest, maybe already seeing a kind of pendulum swing back? A slow return towards seeking balance?
When you look around today at the increasing focus on holistic well-being, on mindfulness, on integrating the physical and the spiritual, the rise of feminist spirituality, could this be the world finally becoming ready, perhaps, to revisit the ideas in Langdon's manuscript, the symbols of the lost sacred feminine?
Is the balance slowly being restored? Are these ancient secrets resurfacing in the needs and structures of our present?
It's definitely a question worth asking yourself. What do you see?
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.